Hi friends, I wonder if I'm the only one who feels like the world's gone completely mad. Why is the number of people who cannot trace cause and effect relationships grow so rapidly? To me, this isn't a very complicated mental activities even a child is capable of.
Если слишком долго держать в руках раскаленную кочергу, то в конце концов обожжешься. Если поглубже полоснуть по пальцу ножом, то из пальца обычно идет кровь. А если разом осушить бутылку с пометкой «яд», то рано или поздно почти наверняка почувствуешь легкое недомогание.
But there is a country where people consider themselves so clever that they don't bother looking for logical consequences of their actions and then express utter bewilderment when faced with the result. They invade another country with weapons and still can't understand why Russians are disliked all over the world. They show complete disrespect toward other nations, try to impose their false views by any means, and at the same time cry about wild Russophobia spreading across the globe. They threaten to be the first to use nuclear weapons against the UK, France, and USA and other countries without the slightest understanding of the consequences of retaliatory nuclear strikes on Russia, which would inevitably follow. They complain about inflation, rising prices, fuel shortages, unpaid wages, rocketing utility bills, and absolutely refuse to see the reasons that caused all this. They lie to themselves, lie to each other, lie to the whole world, and yet expect everyone's respect to them. They kill, loot, rape, bomb, destroy, and devastate entire cities, yet hoping for good neighborly relationships in the future. I get the feeling that 90% of Russia's population had a lobotomy at birth. What do you think? For most people, the decision to eat only healthy food sounds like a step toward a bright future. Of course, why enjoy life when you can heroically give up mayonnaise? The same mayonnaise you probably used to pour even into your morning coffee. Here's a person full of determination to become better. Their Maya expenses drop, their mood seemingly improves, and everything looks like it's going according to plan. But there's a catch. The desire to eat exclusively clean food quickly evolves into a new cult, orthorexia. That's when someone goes into religious ecstasy at a phrase non-GMO and has a seizure at the sight of white bread. Do you check if your chicken thigh was certified by 3 international anti-nitrate organizations? Do you peel your apple with gloves under a UV lamp? Welcome to the club. Diagnosis orthorexia is incoming. The irony is that this obsession with purity often leads to nutrients deficiencies and very real health issues. But the peak of the comedy is when fanatic parents raise their kids in an atmosphere of sanitary epidemiological terror. The fridge looks like a museum with signs reading "No sugar allowed" or "chocolate forbidden." These guardians of health proudly present to the world a fragile child who faints at the mere sight of pizza. But hey, they're convinced it's all worth it. They heroically saved their child from a deadly bite of a chocolate bar. I firmly believe that moderation is needed not only in food, but also in the approach to food. Body positivity can be just as harmful to the health as anorexia. And indulging in every tasty but unhealthy things does as much damage as orthorexia. Wishing everyone health, kindness, and peace. I don't know about you, but I love cooking, especially trying something new and unusual. If you feel the same, stay tuned. This video is just for you. Birra spalmabile is what happens when an Italian chocolatier inspired by Nutella meets a brewer, and both decide that humanity hasn't suffered enough from the culinary experiments. The result? A jar of spread where 40% of the content is actual beer, but chocolate content is zero, not a gram, not a trace. Just the malty aroma whispering, "Welcome to Oktoberfest," without leaving your coach. And don't forget, tomorrow comes the hangover. This spread is either a miracle or a disaster, depending on how much you hate your stomach. The manufacturers suggest spreading it on cheese, meat, fruit, pastry, or just licking it off your finger. But the perfect scenario goes like this. Make a sandwich with egg, bacon, cheese, and beer spread, and you'll get a breakfast your gastroenterologist will talk about to medical students for years. In 2012, Italians collectively gasped at this brilliant idea. Now, thanks to Firebox, this is quirky gift company, Americans also can feel like pioneers of new flavor galaxies, where every combination sounds like a challenge to common sense. Fried cheese with beer spread? Sure. A warm pretzel with beer spread? Why not? A hot dog with beer spread? Congratulations, you've just invented American melancholy. And of course, a peanut butter and beer spread sandwich. Because clearly the universe is tired of waiting for the end of this world. And if that gastronomic thrill isn't enough for you, the US also offers beer jelly with spicy, floral, or smoky notes. So your guests won't just be surprised. They'll quietly think, this person eats beer with a spoon? Maybe it's time to call the asylum? In 2011, the Russian news portal RBK reported on the decision of the Pakistani authorities to introduce a ban on the use of certain words and expressions in the telephone text messages. The initiative came from the Pakistan Telecommunication Authority. According to Pakistani media, mobile operators in the country received an official letter with a list of about 1,500 words and expressions now prohibited for use. The blacklist included words and phrases deemed obscene or offensive, as well as those related to sexuality or even the names of some parts of the body. Moreover, the names of Jesus Christ was also included into the banned list. Mobile operators were ordered to block any text messages containing words from this blacklist. In effect, this introduced total control over the language citizens use. The Telecommunication Authority did not provide any official explanation for the ban, but the thing is clear, this is not just a fight against obscenity. It is yet another form of censorship that directly restricts people's rights and freedoms, in particular the right to freedom of expression and the freedom of religion. And this was not the first such case. Back in 2010, Pakistan banned nationwide access to Facebook due to the spread of blasphemous material. Such actions highlighted a worrying trend. The government seeks to regulate not only people's actions but also the very words they use. And this means that the essence of human rights and freedoms is under threat. Russians, doesn't this sound familiar? To me, it sounds very much like what is happening in Russia right now. The ban on Facebook, throttling of YouTube, fines for searching extremist material, along with the developed list of such materials and the enforced installation of the new Russian messenger marks. Look, it only took 14 years of Putin's brilliant rule for Russia to catch up with Pakistan, and in another 10-15 years it might just catch up with North Korea. In short, you are on the right path, comrades. The main thing, don't bother with politics. Carry on being don't bother. And there is a little joke on the subject about Russians. At night, a black van carries a group of freshly arrested Russians. One asks another, "Do you know if they are taking us to concentration camp or straight to execution?" The other replies, "I don't know. I'm not interested in politics." I'm really curious to hear your thoughts, my friends. Share them down in the comments. I'll be reading them all.